Donald Trump and his allies are injecting half-truths, misinformation, and flat-out lies in some cases in order to score a version of political points, I suppose.
Yeah, I put in the application for a presidential pardon because I believe that Joe Biden has the same responsibility to me that he had to his own son.
It can also be seen that you don't want to talk about the politics because it's on your party, because the mayor and the governor are Democrats who arguably should have had the people in Altadena better prepared for this.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Hope all's good wherever you are. A few clips for you today. One of Psaki absolutely losing her mind over misinformation. You're going to be hearing the word misinformation a lot this week, and then when Trump gets into office, the keywords will be probably something like family separation once they start cleaning up the border. These libs are so predictable. The first clip is of Psaki losing her mind, and then we're going to look at Michael Cohen begging for a pardon, Donald Trump annihilating Gavin Newscum one more time, Chris Cuomo grows some balls, Gavin Newsom gets fact-checked, Kash Patel goes on a rant, all that and more. Let's go.
And with these fires still burning, we are facing important questions about how to mitigate and prevent disasters like this in the future. Fact is, leaders will need to confront a very complicated and challenging reality moving forward. But right now, that is not exactly what is happening. Instead, Donald Trump and his allies are injecting half-truths, misinformation, and flat-out lies in some cases in order to score a version of political points, I suppose. We saw something similar play out just this past October in the aftermath of Hurricanes Helene and Milton, when Trump repeatedly lied about FEMA spending disaster relief funds on migrants, which didn't happen. Also baselessly claiming that the Biden administration was absent and incompetent in delivering aid, despite what elected officials of both parties on the ground said. Those lies were then spread and amplified by the richest man in the world on the social media site that he owns. So I guess none of us should have been shocked this week when Elon Musk posted that the Los Angeles Fire Department prioritized DEI over saving lives and homes. That's an exact quote. That appeared to be a disgusting dig at the city's fire chief, Kristen Crowley, who has served in the department for decades, rising through the ranks to become the first female and LGBTQ fire chief in LA's history. Musk also amplified a post this week from conspiracy theorist Alex Jones. Yes, that guy. He's still around. Alex Jones wrote that Los Angeles fires are part of a larger globalist plot to wage economic warfare and deindustrialize the United States before triggering total collapse. I mean, not sure that guy's okay. Musk responded to that post by writing, true. Yes, just to repeat here. That's just the richest man in the world and the best friend of the incoming president confirming to his 200 million followers that he thinks the devastating wildfires are a part of a globalist plot. And so now we're back in this vicious cycle where Trump and his new bestie push lies about a natural disaster, and then right-wing media runs with them.
Yeah, I put in the application for a presidential pardon because I believe that Joe Biden has the same responsibility to me that he had to his own son regarding the pardon. And I would expect that the same exact pardon that he gave his son has to go to me and to anybody else that's on that enemies list, whether they want it or not. Because I assure you, solitary confinement where I did 51 days sucks.
Michael Cohen, I believe wholeheartedly that the solitary confinement was just a terrible experience for you. And I think your point about the enemies, the proverbial enemies list, right, is a good one. I wonder, have you heard anything back from the administration? It is my understanding that two things. The administration, one, is not going to give a pardon to anybody that doesn't want one. So folks who have prominently gone out and said, I do not want a pardon, the president is not going to issue a pardon to people that don't want one. But two,
they'll change their mind when they're sitting behind closed doors. That I can assure you, they're going to kick themselves in the backside for that one.
I think hindsight will always be 20/20. I guess my question is, have you heard from the Biden administration? And I am struck by your comparing yourself and Hunter Biden. And I wonder if, well, I'm going to just tell you, Michael Cohen, we're on national TV, we have a conversation. I don't necessarily think that's your best way to go get a pardon. I mean, Hunter Biden is the president's last surviving son. But your other point, why I do think is a strong one.
I'm somebody's son also, by the way.
Agreed. You are somebody's son. But, I mean, to be very clear, you're not the president's son.
And there was something strange about seeing multiple leaders who have warned that this guy is dictatorship on the horizon, this guy is fascism on the horizon, this guy is the end of the American experiment. And now, just because of the rituals of a funeral, it's normalized by default. We're just sitting there, and I guess we're just, sitting and making small talk with the guy who we have said is going to end everything. It's very strange. I'm not sure what the alternative is, but it was a surreal moment for that and other reasons.
Gavin Newsom had an opportunity to have millions of gallons a week, a day, millions and millions of gallons come down from the north. And I was able to get him federal approval from that, from the Department of Commerce of all departments. I didn't realize it would go through Commerce. I would have thought environmental, but it goes through Commerce. I got all of the approvals, and he said, I don't want to sign it. I don't want the water. We don't need the water. I said, you need the water. Your reservoirs are empty, the whole place. You need the water. That was 5 years ago. And I had it all done. The work was all done. We sent it to him. He refused to sign it. And if you notice yesterday, the hydrants were empty. They didn't have any water, many of them. They said 20%, but now I just heard 50%, and now none of them have water, and that fire is still raging. When he turned that down, I was going to give him unlimited water. It would come down. It really comes down from the north, way up north, including parts of Canada. It's so much water that they wouldn't know what to do with. Just the opposite would have happened. And that's the reason that this happened. He wouldn't do what we wanted. And we're going to force that upon him now. But it's very late, because I think it's one of the great catastrophes in the history of our nation. This is not just in Los Angeles. I've never seen anything like that, devastation. And we're talking about homes that cost $200, $300, $400 million. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. People that, and very influential people worldwide. I don't know that they ever go back either, because they weren't happy with California. They weren't happy with Gavin Newsom. They weren't happy with their whole lifestyle there, with the crime being out of control, all the other problems. They were not happy. And it's going to be very interesting to see whether or not they're going to build, or whether somebody else is going to build and build a much lesser home. These were the most expensive homes outside of Palm Beach County. I see a list outside of Palm Beach. These were the most expensive homes anywhere in the world. And I think a lot of them are just not going to go back and build it. Plus, they don't want to be part of a construction site. They don't want to, they're building a home, another one's building, they're building in front of them, behind them, alongside of them. So I think it's a tragedy. I think it's an incredible tragedy. It's also a tragedy for a tax base. And the governors know exactly what I'm talking. And I'd like to hear anybody talk about that. But if you're the governor of a state and you lost thousands of very rich people that were paying a lot of taxes and weren't happy about it, and weren't happy about what's happened to California, which has all the advantages of greatness, but they've had horrible politicians. I think that Gavin is largely incompetent, and I think the mayor is largely incompetent, and probably both of them are just stone cold incompetent. What they've done is terrible.
For Michael Cohen to think that Biden owes him the same thing that he would owe, say, his son, even though I don't think Hunter Biden should have gotten a pardon. Joe Biden and his whole family have made millions upon millions of dollars over the years based on him being a politician. His brothers are rich, his sister's rich, his son was the bag man. Michael Cohen is not going to get a pardon from Joe Biden. And cry about it all he wants. Now, next clip you're going to watch Chris Cuomo actually grow a pair, followed by a great clip of Kash Patel, who I gotta say, I'm very excited for him to have that job. Let's go.
Instead of this business about Democrats or Republicans, get the information up on the screens. Where can you go in Altadena? Where can you go in Pasadena? Where can you go in Malibu? Where can you go in the Palisades? Where can you go in San Fernando Valley? They don't know. They're looking for help, and that's what we should be dedicated to.
I agree.
And you too.
We are doing it. We will continue to do it. I think you are right. However, it can also be seen that you don't want to talk about the politics because it's on your party, because the mayor and the governor are Democrats who arguably should have had the people in Altadena better prepared for this. They should have the resources more available so they don't need me to put them up, because the state has been doing the work. And that if they've been preparing the situations for wildfires like they were made aware of, instead of cutting deals with PG&E and insurance companies, they would have prepared the state. That is not unfair criticism. Is it too soon? Maybe, but the questions are real.
Let me tell you something. I'm not in the business of protecting anybody. And I think that my work over the years that I've been involved have been absolutely on point in dealing what has to be dealt with in order to help the people. First thing you got to understand is services cost money. And we should be willing to get the richest people in this country, the richest 1% that is protected, make sure they pay their fair taxes so that we can have the money to provide the services. With that money and with those resources, the people who have been selected or elected to do the job should do the job. I don't care who it is. It could be Democrat, it could be Republican, it could be whatever. But the fact of the matter is, we all should have heavy hearts right now.
I mean, this is so unprecedented. It's just amazing that he would say that.
It's shockingly unconstitutional, Trace. It's great to be with you, and I'm here to announce on your show a measure that I'm working with Congress that should be Congress's bread and butter. And I'm calling for the subpoenas to be issued to Judge Merchant's daughter's company, who made $15+ million from the illicit information pouring out of her father's courtroom. I want to know the bank records, because money doesn't lie. Yep. I want to know how deep it is and how much of it went to the family and how much of it is going to the family after this false conviction. And then we need to investigate the FEC actual violations that this judge and his family conducted, because he should never have been overseeing this trial to begin with, because of the illicit campaign money that was flowing through there, and the unconstitutional due process violations are only the beginning. So America is calling for accountability of our judicial system, and Congress is the only lever that has it, and I'm hoping for one or two brave members of Congress that I'm talking to issue those subpoenas ASAP.
Jack Smith has just been exposed by Judge Cannon of doing what? Lying to a federal court. These guys keep doing it. The judge just unsealed documents in the Jack Smith case down in Florida, which says the prosecutors themselves have admitted to tampering with evidence, to moving the very boxes from one location outside of D.C. to South Florida before they ever even charged Donald Trump. How in the world can you not be prosecuting and charging these constitutional gangsters that are at DOJ? And they learn it from the same place, the top down, the same AGs, the same DAGs, the same FBI directors who are cheering them on. I hope Judge Cannon, he's an actual fun legal thing that should actually be occurring. Judge Cannon should be implementing actual contempt proceedings against Jack Smith and the Department of Justice for lying to a federal judge and withholding evidence of exclusion and innocence from Donald Trump. Those contempt proceedings would be righteous, and I'd like to see those. Maybe we could put Jack Smith in prison.
Now, I want to end this video with a clip of Jake Tapper talking to Katie Britton. She makes him look like a Karen who got his Starbucks order given to him wrong. This man is not a journalist. This man's an activist. We're going to follow that up with a clip of a MSNBC reporter actually fact-checking Gavin Newscum. Let's go.
Yeah, Jake, I mean, look at what's happened under the Biden administration. We have people in these offices who have chosen to go after American citizens, who have chosen to weaponize the justice system in a number of ways. When I talked with Pam Bondi, she committed to me to getting back to doing the job of the people, to getting back to doing what the department was created to do. So whether we're talking about the AG, whether we're talking about the FBI, whether they're talking about the Department of Defense, people want these agencies, these departments to actually work for the American people. Pam is committed to that. I think you will see that. What President Trump has done is he has selected people who are willing to not move as business as usual, but yet are ready for action. They understand his vision for the nation. They understand the mandate that was given on November 5th, and they understand that time for talk is gone and time for results and action is now. And so I think people are actually sick of the weaponization. We had this conversation. We talked about politics not being part of the process of what you do in the department. She is committed to that, and I think she's going to do an excellent job of returning the department to the work of the American people, and I am excited for her hearing.
I do think there's a split screen here, too, with Florida, to be honest. A lot of what we talk about it in terms of emergency management in this country almost always comes from hurricanes and weather, and you know, who is the recognized best emergency manager in the country? Ron DeSantis in Florida. So Newsom is also, he's under assault from Trump a little bit, but you know, he's also dealing with, I think, a comparative here. You know, what do other governors do? Is he as good? So when you talk about the future politics of it, is he as good at this as another governor might be? Could be a real problem for him because, you know, right now I think people have serious questions and there are no answers yet. He'll have a chance to answer them, but it doesn't look great right now.
Trump is blaming Biden for this on a presidential level. He's about to be president for another 4 years. There are going to be more natural disasters that occur on his watch. And so you're setting up this situation where is it the president's fault every time there's a fire because conditions are dry or every time there's a hurricane? When he's president, he will say it's not his fault. But it just kind of sets that up, that expectation up that, oh, well, the president has something to do with this or could have prevented this, which is not necessarily the case.
For him to come out, take a look for himself. We want to do it in the spirit of an open hand, not a closed fist. He's the president-elect. I respect the office. We have a president of the United States that within 36 hours provided a major disaster declaration over a text. We had support from the president of the United States, Joe Biden, with 100% reimbursement, all the resources you could hope for or imagine, constant communication. I'd like to extend that to the president-elect. I don't know what he's referring to when he talks about the Delta smelt in reservoirs. The reservoirs are completely full. The state reservoirs here in Southern California, that mis and disinformation, I don't think advantages or aids any of us. Responding to Donald Trump's insults, we would spend another month. I'm very familiar with them. Every elected official that he disagrees with, very familiar with them.
We do know, though, from reporting here locally that one reservoir that serves the Palisades was not full.
And that's exactly what triggered my desire to get the investigation, to understand what was happening with that local reservoir. That was not a state system reservoir, which the president-elect was referring to as it relates to the Delta and somehow connecting the Delta smelt to this fire, which is inexcusable because it's inaccurate, also incomprehensible to anyone that understands water policy in the state.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, smash that thumbs up button for your boy. Consider subscribing to the channel. Help it grow. And I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody.